If you believe in good stress, this video will prove to you that it will lead to burnout, it's unsustainable, and how you can start to operate without stress. Now, you're going to argue to me that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And my problem is that it probably helps you to get stuff done, to hit your deadlines, and to grow your business to a certain extent. Well, I'm going to argue that if it ain't okay, fix it. Because I have seen from myself, a friend, and a client that working from a place of good stress is only delaying burnout. Let me prove to you why. First, let me explain my story. I have built 2 six-figure agencies in the lead gen sector. Both of them I quit because I got to a point where I wasn't enjoying my work and I had to use deadlines, client deadlines, for me to be able to complete my work. And so, as you'll see later, why exactly that connection is going to cause me to have quit both of my businesses, even though they're making good money. They're making like 10 and the other was making about like 15 grand a month. So I was doing well, but I closed them both. And my friend, he built a 7-figure agency and he had like 13, 14 people on his team, something like that. And he ended up building a system where he had a lot of people reliant on him all the time, constantly have to be on calls, etc., etc., etc. All of this pressure on his shoulders. He made an association with that. And then when he didn't enjoy the work as much, he quit the whole business. And the whole business that was making 7 figures a year was closed. And then I've got my client who was turning over 200 grand a month doing a recruitment agency. And he had a very similar thing. He required the stress to work. Eventually the stress got too much and he had to close the whole of the business. And now the difference is with Mark is that he is now building up a recruitment agency again. So he's in the space that he wanted to be in. But the way that he built his old agency, where it relied on stress, meant that he closed the whole thing. And so now he's rebuilding from a new place, which I will show you. And now it's being sustainable. It's got real growth. He's able to build it up. And so far, there has been no issues. And there's been no signs of any issues either, like there was in the first business. So what are you doing when you're using good stress to get your work done? Let's walk through the process. You start off with no stress and there's no work. And then the deadline or some sort of event comes in play. And so now you have stress, the good stress that you would say. That is what allows you to work, and that's what gets you results. And this is the problem that I'm dealing with, that actually you're seeing that when there's stress, you work and you get a result. And so you've got this loop going around in your head that I need the stress so that I can work, so that I can get these results. And it feeds itself because it gets you what you want. Problem is, you are training your brain to associate work with fight or flight, to associate it with stress, to associate it with things that you have resistance to. And so then you're going to start training and conditioning your brain to not want to work. That's the funny thing here. The burnout doesn't come from doing too much work, like you would maybe think. It just comes from how you're conditioning your brain and your associations with work. Because if your associations with work are that you don't like it and that it has a lot of stress and that it puts you in this state of fight or flight, your brain is going to try and remove you from those situations. And it's going to try and stop you from doing the work. That is the problem of using good stress. And maybe it's allowed you to build your business so far, but I promise you that at some point there is a breaking point and it will crumble down. And so what we need to do instead is we need to start building from a place of purpose and love of the game and curiosity and challenge. And we can do that by rewiring our brain through cognitive reappraisal. So our brain is constantly attaching purpose to things. This is cognitive appraisal. And so your brain is making cognitive appraisals when it uses work and sees it as stress, or sees it as something that puts it in fight or flight, or something that it wants to avoid. And what we want to do is we want to go back, find these thoughts and patterns, find these feelings, and we want to start writing out and training our brain to think differently. We want to start seeing it as something which provides us purpose so that whenever stress comes up or we see work happening and we're not doing it, we remind ourselves that we chose this game because we love it. We remind ourselves that it's working towards this bigger plan of saving the world, of curing homelessness, of providing for our family, for buying the house that we want to buy next year. Whatever it is, we tie it back explicitly, write it down to something that gives us purpose, challenge, curiosity, for a love of the game. All of these things are going to help you act from a place which is sustainable and doesn't rely on stress and isn't going to cause you to burn out, as I've proven that good stress is always going to lead to. This is a new system which can help you grow the business forever, as opposed to building 2 6-figure agencies and closing them, building a 7-figure agency, then closing it, having a 200 grand a month business and then closing it. Your old system relied on stress for action. It relied on pressure for movement, and it leads to burnout. The new system relies on alignment for action, meaning for movement, and it builds momentum. You are not someone who just needs pressure to perform. You've simply trained yourself to be that way. Now, you can make a new default through cognitive reappraisal. One that allows you to have effortless productivity. If you want to learn more psychological and spiritual methods, principles, and tactics that can allow you to grow a bigger and better business, then find the links in my description. One of them will be a free school community where we have 3 weekly calls. The other will be a free coaching call where I promise to remove one of your psychological or spiritual blocks. And if I don't in that session, we will book another one until we do.